Hi, Substack. So I tell you the truth. I mean, I was about to write an article about what it really takes to go from hoping to expecting really what you're doing is really creating the results as an entrepreneur. And we all know this. That when we're starting, we have a big idea and we hope that it works. Um, what does it really take to move from hope on, right, into to the point where you're just expecting it? And I was writing it, I was editing it, and I was just walking outside, having just a little bit of fresh air. And I thought, well, why not go live on that topic? Because every word I was writing down was not really feeling good. So this video is now, or this podcast, or whatever you want to call it, is really, well, from my point of view, something which really took a long time for me to understand. See, most people think that when they start a business, they just have to believe in themselves, right? Everybody's talking to you or telling you, just believe in yourself, do the reps, and also set up your morning routine, set up a vision board and affirmations, and everything will work out. And yeah, this kind of helps. But for me, I mean, believing and hoping and knowing and expecting are four different things on a scale. So you can't just switch on that you believe in yourself. So let's put this into a perspective, right? We all know then that when we start to, well, set up your business or create a new offer, or maybe also starting here on Substack, completely new, you put in some hope. You hope that it works. Um, and hope is a special kind of beast, I would say. It's always the starting point, but hope is something that you have a great idea and you hope that eventually it will turn out. You start from a place where you have no evidence whatsoever that it's really producing the results you're dreaming about, right? So it hope then, from my point of view, is not really only working, because of course when you start, you show up, you create the post, the notes, you're creating the launch, and you do all the reps, you work on that. But without the evidence, right, you're actually doing two jobs at the same time. Two jobs in the sense of, yes, doing something to produce an outcome, but on the inside, your nervous system, your capacity to hold this uncertainty really needs to build up. And your nervous system, what it's trying to do is, because there is no evidence, it's always searching for evidence that this is risky, this is not going to work. So you're doing two jobs at the same time. You're working as well as trying to calm down your inner voice, the inner critic of what if it doesn't work out. And that's quite normal when we start. Everybody knows that. And when we start something new, we usually start with hope because we have no evidence and also this inner voice is there. And there comes the next level on that scale, right? From moving from hope to expecting that the outcome will come. And that is knowing. That is believing, right? Believing. And that is what most people are telling you. You just need to believe in yourself. And belief from the outside might look very similar to hoping because you believe in something without having the evidence, right? You're doing something. You're also doing the work. You're stepping into, like, showing up, going live, whatever you're doing. But there's still no evidence out there. But there's a subtle difference between hoping and believing. And this is what usually people get wrong. Believing is not that you need to believe in what you are doing is creating the results. Believing means that you believe in yourself, that what you are doing is really aligned with your calling, your soul's mission, with your conviction. And that is the very small difference, because when you believe, right, you ask a different question. It's not what if it fails, or what will it really work out. It is slightly turning the twist into what if it works out? What if it works? And this comes from the inner belief that regardless of the outcome results, you're doing the rep, you show up. Why? Because it's your conviction, because it's grounded in your story, it's grounded in what you believe in your message. So it's the first step of really becoming, well, an authority, right? You step into conviction. And a lot of times, because the outcome is not there, people are circling around between hoping and believing, hoping and believing. In the very moment when something isn't working out, right? You put in the effort, you try to launch something, and you don't get the results. And i- in 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 the state of just hoping, this not getting the results will turn on the inner critic. See, I told you this wouldn't work. But if you are believing in yourself, you might be frustrated in a way, but you start to look at this failure from a completely different point of view. It is this, hey, okay, it isn't working or it wasn't working like it should work or like I planned it to be. But what kind of lesson does it really tell me? Is there some evidence or is there something in it that teaches me a lesson? Why? Because you're still believing on what you're doing is good. You're still believing what you're working on is completely aligned with yourself. So you have the inner power. So internally, you're building up the confidence, while on the outside, the evidence might not be there. And once you have that, you can switch and turn on the I know that it works. So from believing into knowing. And knowing is then the first time where the inner confidence matches the outer evidence. Because knowing comes from a place where you are actively searching not for things telling you that it will not work, but you're looking for evidence that it is working. Maybe because you have made a similar experience before, that you are going through some similar stage or work or improvement or growth part before that, or that you see some small changes that, yeah, I mean, there's a feedback you get from, hey, what you just told me or what you were just talking about was exactly what I was feeling. So that you see that what you are bringing out to the world is resonating with somebody else. So you're finding small pieces of evidence in the outside world that what you're thinking from the inside is aligned. And that the knowing bit is then the effort in actively searching for the evidence. It doesn't mean that you will get the immediate big results there, but it's really coming from a different state. It is the calmness of the internal state. The next level is not knowing, but expecting it. And expecting is like, well, ordering something, right? Ordering something at Amazon. Well, you click on the buy now button and you know that what you just ordered is definitely coming to you. So you don't check it, right? And the question is also not any longer, what if it fails? Or what if it works? Or I know it can work. It is, yeah, of course it works. And that's a completely different state, because you are not having only the internal security and confidence and some evidence in the outside world. You have outside results, but regardless of what is happening in the outside world, whether everything is working out as you planned in the first place or not, you have this inner feeling of, hey, whatever the universe is throwing at me, I can figure it out. There's nothing there to break me. Everything which is happening in the outside world is for me, is a part or a lesson I need to take to grow. And you cannot skip any big part or any step on that journey, right? Everything what we start usually begins with a hope. And the question is now, what can you do to move quickly through this cycle of hope, believe, know, expect? And that's quite simple. It starts with the inner work, as I said. You need to ask yourself, what is it I really want? What is really I'm confident about that I need to share? What is my conviction? What are my values? And this is based on your own story. Unless you have this security that you have something to say, that you have something to share with the outside world, that what you want to do is really in line with you, and that you would do this regardless of the outcome. Unless you have answered that question, you will always fall back to hoping. And hoping will circle around between, yes, it's great, and no, I'm a failure. And then you will switch the strategies, because strategies is what feels safe in that moment. So you need to come to this inner place of safety, this inner grounding or conviction. And once you have that, from that place onwards, you have to look into the evidence, the outside world, and also learn how to tackle harsh situations when everything is, or when something is not working out right. And this is then the piece which brings you from the knowing to expectancy, or expecting it. And this is what I then call the highest level of business authority, because standing in your business, being convicted, showing it to the outside world, and having this inner peace of calmness of, yeah, I know I'm talking to the right people. I don't have to prove myself, because I'm convicted. I'm standing behind it. And I know the results, the outcome will follow. So if this hits with you, and if this ticks with you in a sense of, yeah, this makes completely sense, well, place command where you are and what you're thinking about this. Not saying that of course, I'm not always in the expecting mode. Of course not. There are times when I start something new, I'm starting with hope, going into belief, and going to the knowing before I'm expecting it. But this is just the way. But you always have to start with the inner work first. Have a nice day.